I always wanted to go to university, always. I loved learning, but I'm dyslexic, so I really struggled at school. And I have a twin sister, a non-identical twin sister, who's not dyslexic, and I made her life hell, because she was great at doing exams, and I was terrible at doing exams. And so my mum and dad used to say, okay, well done, Jess, and then, concentrate on me. So it was difficult. And I'd struggled, they put me in something called Room 3. Yeah, it's one of those great things that they did in the 1980s in Yorkshire, where Room 3 was essentially the remedial kids, because they didn't know what to do with me, and they said I was stupid and lazy. Let's put her in there. So there were two options: get shouted at and said that you're a dunce by your classmates when you were waiting outside the classroom, or hide in the toilets until everybody went into the classroom and get told off by the teacher. So I got told off by the teacher. But I kept on persevering. I had a good mum and dad who believed in me. And then one day I was sat with the educational psychologist, and he said, Kate, what would you like to do when you leave school? And I said, I'd like to go to university and do philosophy. That's what I wanted to do, because I liked asking questions. And he looked absolutely horrified at me. And he said, Kate, I always wanted to be a racing driver. I will never be a racing driver. You will never go to university. So I thought, okay. I stood up, put my hand out, and he said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'd like to thank you for the very little that you've done in my life, and I won't be seeing you again. And again, I persevered and kept on and kept on. And I applied to go to Bangor University in North Wales. And I applied there because they had the National Dyslexia Institute. I thought, we're on to a winner here, we're good. Day came round to get my results, failed all my A-levels, because I just couldn't write it down in time. But little did I know, when I went for my interview at Bangor, they rang my mum up and said, Kate's got a place, no matter whether she passes or not. So off I trotted to Bangor in North Wales. It was a big, long journey for me then at the age of 19, the day of my 19th birthday. And I turned up, and they closed the Dyslexia Institute the week later. So you can tell how this story's going. But it's about perseverance. And to try and link it back to the company, it's about failure. I have no worries or concerns about failing, because I failed so many times in my life. In fact, up until the age of 18, the only thing I really passed was my driving test, and I passed first time. But up then, I'd failed everything. But don't see failure as a failure. It's an opportunity to learn. And that helped me say, well, do you know what? I could set a spin-out company. So I got to Bangor. I did my undergraduate degree. Everything was, 10% was coursework, the rest was exams. Again, I got a third in my degree because I couldn't write them down fast enough. But I had somebody who believed in me, said, let her do a master's, did a master's. That was starting to get better. I was doing more experimental work, less exams. And I eventually passed that, and I came to Liverpool, and lo and behold, I started a PhD. And I probably shouldn't say this to the PhD students that are in the room. I know there are some. But the PhD was the most easiest thing I've ever done. Because I had to write a PhD thesis, but I didn't have to write exams, in exam conditions. So I started to build more confidence, because I'd failed, but I'd succeeded, and I'd learned something. Each time I'd failed, I'd learned something. So, roll forward to 2008, I got my PhD, passed, no corrections, good. Delighted, Dr. Black, the person who said they would never go to university is now Dr. Black. And then I thought, well, what am I going to do now? So I went to Cambridge to do a postdoc. I thought it was going to be the be-all and end-all and great. And I apologise for anybody that's in Cambridge in the room, at Cambridge University, for what I'm about to say. But I hated it. I'd been in Liverpool as a PhD student. Liverpool's one of the friendliest cities in the world, certainly in the UK. It didn't click with me, So I came back after a year, and I did a postdoc with Matt Rosinski over in the chemistry department, because that's the bit I didn't tell you. I'm a chemist, I'm not an engineer, although I am a professor in engineering. My background is in chemistry, and my PhD was in material science and chemistry. So I came back to Liverpool, did a year's postdoc, and I thought, I like this work, but I really want to take control and charge of what I do, and I want to research the things that I like to do. And so my contract came to an end, and I didn't have a job. So I went on the dole for 9 months. It was horrible. But again, I persevered. I was still an honorary researcher here, and I wrote my own grant proposal. And I couldn't put it in myself because I wasn't an academic. So I got one of my colleagues who was an academic here to put it in for me. And I translated the chemistry that I'd done in my PhD into a new area that I really found fascinating, and that new area was additive manufacturing. So I was on the ladder to move into a new research area. So I got the grant proposal, got it funded, amazing, yeah? Got a postdoc from there, and then I applied for a lectureship here at the University of Liverpool, and because I'd shown that I could write a grant proposal and get funded, I got the job. And then I met Pete. It didn't go all wrong then, don't worry, he's not the cause. So 2013, I got my first academic job. I'm now a lecturer in the School of Engineering after being told, you'll never go to university. And I started working on inkjet printing. So I translated work that I did in one technology, in my PhD rather, in something called atomic layer deposition, and I translated that knowledge into a new area. And that's what helped me to become distinguished from everybody else, and it helped me to come up with new ideas and new innovation. And in 2016, I had an idea with one of my colleagues that I wonder whether if you added this and this together, and we won't go into the details of what the technology is, that's not the interesting bit. But it's about joining different disciplines together that creates new innovation. So if you're just talking to engineers or you're just talking to physicists, chemists, or whoever they are, you're not really going to get true innovation. You need to have a diverse workforce, a diverse set of thinking, and a pool of different ways of thinking and looking at things. So we had this great idea that we thought would have legs, and the first thing we did was went to the IP people. And so it's really difficult to understand or know when you've got something that you think you could patent. So just do it early, just ask, because the worst thing that could happen is that you publish something and then you go, oh, that was a good idea, but now I've published it, I can't protect it. So have those conversations early. That's the first rule, number one. I haven't even got past slide 1 yet, have I? This is bad. So yeah, we started looking at the IP, and we'd not done any experiments. It was just, we'd done preliminary experiments in a slightly different area, but this was all an idea. So we captured that, and we captured it through an IP application. And then I thought, well, we need to find out whether this has got legs. And I hadn't really thought whether this would be a company or not. It was more about that I just felt that this was something that people needed to look at. So I applied for an EPIS-RC grant. And I think I'm going to move slides now because I'm probably ahead of myself already. I applied for an EPIS-RC grant to see whether we'd get whether this had legs and whether it would work. And we're very fortunate, and we got that. And that helped me to start bringing in team members. And within about 6 months, we realized, actually, this has legs, and this could be a really good technology. So this was a new additive manufacturing technology that could print ceramics and metals, but simultaneously. So you could broaden that palette of materials that you can process. But why did I start a company? That's what this slide's about. So what motivates you to pursue commercialization of your research? For me, it was felt that often we see academics do, and PhD students and postdocs do great research, but it stays in the university. It needs to get out into the real world and make a difference. And how do you do that? Well, one of the ways of doing it is a spin-out company, but it's not the only way. But I was starting to get a little bit itchy feet, wanted to do something different, thought we had an idea, but there was something fundamental that underlying why I wanted to do a company. And it wasn't necessarily the technology. I knew the technology was good and it could make an impact, but I wanted to change the way that we did manufacturing. Now, I'm a woman in an engineering department, and when I was appointed in 2013 as an academic, there were no other female academics in the School of Engineering at the University of Liverpool. No one. They were all men. So there have been challenges, and we've not got time to go into all of that, but there were challenges of how you became doing the job that you're doing as a woman. And it's not just a woman, all the other minorities out there. How do they cope, and how do you do things differently? So it was my why. I wanted to go out and change the way that we did manufacturing, because I firmly believe that you need a diverse workforce to be able to create new innovation for the survival of humankind. And that might sound, quite dramatic, but I think that's true. We've just been through 2 years where we've gone through a global pandemic. We're seeing water shortages, food shortages, new wars starting. These are challenges that are facing humankind where we need manufacturing to stand up to the plate, and we need people to come in with new ideas. Well, you can't do that with one area of workforce. You need everybody involved. And it's that starting with why. Even if you don't want to set up a company, I'd wholly recommend you all read this book, Start With Why. It's a brilliant book by Simon Sinek, and go and look on YouTube. There's lots of TED Talks and stuff that he did, and it's brilliant. It's about why do we do things? Because you've got a great technology, but it's that why that attracts other like-minded people to you. Like-minded team members that have the same cultural values, the same morals as you. And then you start to attract end users of your technology that share that why. There's a great story in the book, and I won't try and spoil it too much, but Apple is a great example of why. It's because they have good technology, but it's not necessarily the best technology. And they've been going on from, 1973, 1975, but in 2000, they came up with the iPod. Yeah? 6 months before that, a Singaporean company had come up with the identical technology, and they sold it as 5 gigs, yeah? And everybody's like, well, what's that? What do I do with it? Apple come along, identical technology, and say 1,000 songs in your pocket. The rest is history, yeah? Because they started with the why, and so you start to collect people that think like you. So knowing your why, having a vision will attract that like-minded people, and that's really important. And I would say, because we had a strong why in our company, that's how we managed to sell it and to be as successful as we have so quickly. Because it has been very quick, the transition. So I wanted to change the way that we did manufacturing and change the way that we perceive things. And that was the major why. But it's kind of going back to that section when we talked about IP. How do you know you've got something that could be commercialised? Well, the proof of concept grant by EPSRC helped us do that. One, it helped us to get data, but it started to say, okay, talking to other industrial partners. So I brought in an advisory board on my EPSRC grant, and one of those people on the advisory board, Simon Scott, became the CEO of Meta Additive. And they helped to fit where your research fits in the grand scheme of things. And because we're academics, the first thing that we do is look to academia. You need to look outside of academia as well. Academia is important, but you need to start benchmarking it against industry. So I've got an example here of a report that we looked at, but start looking at market reports for industry, start chatting with companies that you know, and build from there. And all your universities will also have an IP and impact section to go to talk to those people. They will help you. And they certainly did me when I started out the spin-out journey. So read widely, and not just in academic, but industry reports, and that's really important. Where does your technology fit? How will it change things? What will it enable us to do? But how do you even start a company? Where do you start? When you don't have money, you've got a bit of a EPSRC grant, but they're all PhD students or postdocs. But you've never set up a company before. Well, we talked to somebody called the Enterprise Board, and I'm sure all your universities have something similar. You need to go and talk to them first of all. They have lots of skill sets and knowledge that they find. There's a bit of a formatting issue there with that, so I apologise for that. But start to look at local authority. All of them have lots of pots of money. I've put a link there, grantfinder.co.uk. It's great. It tells you all the little bits of pots of money. It might be 5k, it might be 20k, but these things are the beginnings of your spin-out company. These make a really big difference to these small pots of money. And I've got Harvard Business Review. I read it every month. It's £18 a month. It comes through the door, and you get it online, and you can have free courses, access all of their online stuff, and there's a wealth of information. All the things that you've never thought you needed to know is in there. So I would advise you, if you are thinking about spinning out, start having a look. But it's good for an academic as well to look about lots of things about team. And I've put team is everything, and I'm going to probably bore you for the remaining 25 minutes of this talk by talking about team. Because we've already got to the point, you all do great research, you've all got great ideas. And each one of those could be translated into a spin-out company, if you so wish to do. But why are some successful and why are some not? And I think, for me, I would say it's the team. If you don't get the right team, forget it. But you can take that same ethos to your academic career. You'll have PhD students or postdocs working with you. Team is everything. And don't start picking people that are like you. Because you already know what you think, yeah? You've got to start thinking about all the others. And it's where we come back with that diversity. And it's not just, right, let's have men and women. It's neurodiversity in your team. Diversity of all natures. You need to think about the team. And you need to put time and effort into your team and look after them. But how do you find your team? Well, you've read the book, you've got your why, yeah? Now you need to disseminate that why. To gather the people like you. You're your tribe, yeah? You're gathering people with the same cultural values as you. So they may not come from the same disciplines as you, but they've got the same core values. That's important. So I had a LinkedIn profile. I started it 2004 when I started my PhD, and roll on 15 years, and it was still the same picture I'd had when I was 24. So it was really out of date, and I saw it as, it's just like another Facebook thing, but for work. So I never really went on it until I set up the company. And I needed to do a bit of marketing, and I didn't really know anything about marketing. I say that, and yeah, I should probably come to that point. As an academic and as a researcher, I actually hold a lot of skills that it takes to set up a spin-out company. You just don't realise that you do. And I didn't when I started. Because we market our research to be your teammate, or to your PhD supervisor, or to the grant funder. You're marketing your work. Why should this be funded? Why should we do this? So actually you do hold a lot of skills that are needed. But LinkedIn is a really, really great resource and a free resource to get that. So I had a little bit of money from the Enterprise Board from the University of Liverpool. And you've got to spend that money wisely to get impact. And so I spent it on somebody looking at our LinkedIn pages. So they overhauled all our personal pages and then made us a website, and they made us a meta-additive LinkedIn page. It was the single best thing I've done since we started the company, because we never, from that day, ever had to go and tout for business. They always came to us. And the company that eventually came to acquire us found us through LinkedIn. So even if you're not thinking about setting up a company, go and have a look at your LinkedIn profile. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, get one, because they're great and they do make a massive difference. And what you've got to remember is we set up our company just as we went into the global pandemic, which is a great thing to do, just add a bit more stress to your life. But LinkedIn was that free network of people that couldn't go out and talk to people. But you find lots of different people, and people come to you, and people come to you that you didn't even think you needed, until you go, actually, yeah, we do need somebody to do that. So it's a really good way of doing that. You need a board, yeah? It's a legal requirement to have a board for a company in the UK. And the first thing people just go is, they ask the mates, or they go, right, okay, well, you can do, you'll do. If they're sitting in the board meeting and they're not saying anything to you, get rid of them, yeah? They need to be saying, they're not like to be saying to you, oh, well done, Kate, you've done a great job there. You don't want that. You want them to say, well, have you thought about that? Yeah, you've done that well, but maybe you could do it this way. So you need people who are going to speak up, who've got, and don't get them all from the same discipline. Get them from other walks of life. Yeah, so I had somebody from HR on there who helped us change the whole culture of the company. And I keep talking about culture and team, but it's paramount to the success of a company. If you don't start on the right footing with the culture and the values of your company at the beginning, you're playing catch-up all the time. In the future, is getting rid of the people that don't fit with that culture. So it's really important to get that key. So choose a diverse board and a diverse team. So you might have somebody from humanities on there, or you might have somebody from legal and finance, or from business school. Don't just come from the science background. We then applied for an Innovate UK Smart Grant, and that was what really accelerated Meta. It allowed us to bring in more than just me and Simon, yeah, and the PhD students. So it allowed us to bring in the new team, and we were told, you're a spin-out company, you're an SME, don't be a leader for one of these smart grants, you just won't get it. And don't apply for more than 200,000. So you've already gathered that I just ignore people when they tell me things like that. So we applied for 1.2 million, and we led it, and we got it. I was just sat in the corner over there. So I'm not going to say any more about that grant. No, it was really what kick-started Meta. But how did we get it? I think there was a 3% success rate for that grant. I cried when we got it. That's how much it meant. But why did we get it? We had a great technology, but we also had that why there. Yeah, what was it going to do? How was it going to revolutionize the way that we did manufacturing? And people start to buy into that. So LinkedIn, and start to think big and looking at new ways of doing things. So I realise I'm very, very fortunate that the company got acquired. And it got acquired really fast. So we set up in October 2019 and were acquired in September 2021. And I still wake up thinking, how the hell did we do that? But we did. And so I don't want you to go away and thinking, great, we're going to set up a company and we're going to be selling it in a couple of years' time. Because it rarely happens. And companies take a long, long, long time normally. 5 years is fast, 10 average, but can be 15, 20 years before you start to see a real difference. So if your only motivation is money makes the world go round, but it's not the be-all and end-all, and it will not sustain the company. Those companies that have money at their core value will undoubtedly make money, but will they make money repeatedly? Will they weather the storm of things like Brexit, wars, global pandemics? No. Because, believe it or not, there are people out there that are not motivated by money. And you need a much bigger, stronger why of why you do things. So if you have that why, and you dream big, and you say, right, you want to make a difference in X, Y, and Z, money will come as a result of that. So don't worry about the money. Keep thinking about what's your vision, yeah? It's like companies who say, we've got a goal of X billions next year. That's like getting in a car and saying, I'm going to drive 100 miles. Well, so what? Where are you going? Where's the destination? Yeah? It's the journey. Where are you going? And that's the same for all businesses. But the same for your academic research as well. What do you want it to do? What difference do you want it to make? It's not by saying, right, well, I just want 5 papers out, or I want to get 6 grants. Why? And that will happen automatically if you stick with your why. So yeah, we were acquired by Desktop, and again they came to see us through LinkedIn. So I got an email, or a LinkedIn message rather. I thought I'd had my LinkedIn account hacked, because it's like Rick Fulop, the CEO of Desktop Metal. Desktop Metal is a huge, additive manufacturing global company. So it was quite surprised when they came. And we were starting to look for seed investment to grow the company. But we didn't think of touching Desktop because they're too large. We thought we were too small. But he liked our message. He liked what we were putting out on LinkedIn, on our website. So he came to see us. And they started the ball rolling. And we could talk for another couple of hours on what it's like being acquired, but I think that's for another time. But dream big and keep questioning. The day that you stop questioning, the day that you want to stop learning, is the day you should stop. And you've got to remember that you can't do everything, yeah? You can't do everything. As much as you'd like to try, and as academics, sometimes we have to try and do as many things as we can. But that's why your team's important, yeah, because you can't do everything. And you've got to learn all of the time, because things change and you have to adapt. So keep questioning, and that stands not just for a company, but it stands for your academic career. If you don't want to question anymore, find another job, I think, then. But what benefits did it bring? So you might set up a company and it might fail, yeah? But remember, we're not frightened of failure, are we? Because now we know that we can learn a lesson from there. And you keep persevering and you'll find something else and you'll get something else. And so not everybody can have a company that's successful. Not everybody can have a company that is acquired. But what else does it do? Well, it increases your professional network. I'm still part-time at the university and part-time at the company. And although it's like doing 2 full-time jobs, and the work-life is difficult, it's brought lots of other benefits, not just financial benefits, lots of other benefits. So you start to meet new people, you start to create new networks, and things that you can't do in the company, you can take into the university. And so your company might fail, and it might not be acquired, it might have to be wrapped up. But just think about all the things that you've learned on that journey, and think about all the new people that you've met, and keep up with those people. Keep chatting with them, because they're the people that are going to start the next grant proposal and the next idea. And that next idea might be the company that gets sold or changes the way that we do things. So don't stop learning. I think I've got one more slide. Open up to... But yeah, this is really the summary of the things that I faced, the issues that I faced. And I keep going about team, but team is really important, The people that come up to you and say, well, I've been a CEO of a company, I can run your company. Just check, okay? Because being a CEO of a large company is quite different from being a CEO to a spin-out company. And the skill set that you need is quite stark. So if you get the wrong person, it can cause you all sorts of problems. And decide what your values are, stick to them, and pick from a diverse pool, okay? And if you are confident and articulate with your values, the right people will come and join your company or your team as an academic. Starting to understand what type of leader I was and what my weaknesses are. And there are lots of weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. But it's knowing what they are, not being afraid of what they are, and saying, okay, well, I can try and improve on that, but I'm never going to be very good at that, so let's bring somebody else in. If somebody makes you feel bad about something that you're not great at, that says more about them than it does you. Yeah? And I'm proof that if I sat on a team and they said to me, you would never go to university, I went, all right, cool, I'll go to, work in the cheese counter. Nothing wrong with working in the cheese counter. But if I'd accepted that, I wouldn't be here where I am now. So you've got to keep on persevering and put people and culture of your business first. Train them, invest in them, build a culture of trust. If they trust you, they give you tenfold back, yeah? And train those people and build them. And then the last one I've got is a challenge is a work-life balance. Now, I don't know the answer to that. So if there's anybody in the room that can give me some advice, I'd welcomely take that on board. But it is life, after all, and it's only a job. So you can't work yourself into a ground and get so stressed that you break. There's just no point. So if you're not enjoying it, that's when you've got to stop. And that's where I'll stop and leave you to ask any questions that you might have.